Okay, so I'm starting to learn the hardest thing about making this project is just not losing it, because I just made like a 7 minute video and then it just disappeared. Anyways, I guess what I'm making here is a vlog, is what the YouTubers call it, and I'm gonna just talk with you about why you should read Flex Mentallo. It's cool as crap. Okay, just a little like context, because honestly, y'all probably won't read it, so I'm gonna just tell you what happens. Alright, a little context. The whole book is about this guy, Wally Sage. And, see her. Pretty much it's about how here he is. That's Wally, and this cat, Tibbet, or Tibbert. Anyways, Wally is depressed. Okay, he's like a failed musician. Okay, his parents are like crazy hippies that were like afraid of the nukes, okay, back in the day. So Wally's had a pretty weird life, and pretty much he finds like he was just always has loved comics, okay. So the whole book is pretty much about how Wally gets through what he's like this terrible point in his life through comics, and pretty much what happens is like it starts off really jumpy, and you don't really like I didn't even really know how everything was going to tie together and like what was going on probably till like the third issue. Oh yeah, more context. This there's four ages of comics: the golden age, the silver age, the dark age, and now we're in the Renaissance, which is right now. And honestly, comics now are pretty good. But anyways, we'll get to that later. Um, I didn't get really what was going on probably till like issue 3, I would say, maybe even 4. But anyways, um, pretty much Wally takes a bunch of drugs and tries to kill himself, and so he's tripping out, and pretty much the whole time he's in this alleyway, and that's the phone that he's talking on. It looks like a little car, but pretty much he calls the Samaritans and he tells them, I'm gonna kill myself, and all I want to do is talk about comics. And so that's what he does. He sits there and talks about comics for like hours. But really, what happens is he's really in his kitchen just tripping out hard, okay? Anyways, but pretty much all the characters are in his head. Like this whole story, okay, is in his head. Like every character, everything is just all in his head. And it's pretty much just like, here, look, see, like, look at that, that's just awesome. Can't really see it. Okay. Anyways, it's all in his head, and it's pretty much just like terrible things that's happened to Wally throughout his life, and it's like comics that he's wrote. See, you see in the beginning of the book that Flex Mentallo is actually like a comic he wrote, and pretty much like it's these comic book characters in his head, and they're like saving him almost. Like you just have to read it to understand. Anyways, like there's so many deep things in this book. Like there's one part where like Wally's tripping out and he sees this girl getting mugged by like all these gangbangers or whatever. And that's pretty much he talks about how like that's pretty much how like his dad was abusive to his mom, and like he's never been like good with girls and blah blah blah. You get me. Anyways, um but the whole book is pretty much how comics get him through what he's going through, and like there's one part where they're even like he's having these flashbacks, and like you know how everyone has an inner child, um, like pretty much a lot of the book is his inner child like being talked to by the comic book characters in his head. Like you see right here, that they're in Wally's brain, like that's his inner child. Anyways, they're all in there, and it's just pretty much like how Wally gets through this terrible point in his life, and he's trying to kill himself, but like all this is going on in his head, and it pretty much saves him. Like it gives him the will to live. Okay, that's pretty much it. But another cool little tidbit of information is like all the characters in this book. I can't remember. Someone told me if Flex Mentallo was made before, but I can't remember. But look, like all these characters here, these are all original to this book. Okay, you'll nowhere else. Anyways, little just warning. This book is pretty graphic. I mean, there's some bad things that happens. I mean, let's see here. We can probably find one pretty quickly. Yeah, this guy takes some crazy drug right here that ends up killing him. Anyways, um, these comics are graphic, so just be warned. You know, don't read it if you're gonna complain about it, about how graphic it is. Um, the book was written by Grant Morrison. Okay, Grant Morrison is like one of the greatest, maybe the greatest comic book writer of our day. Like he just writes the best stuff. Like no, there's nothing I've read of him that is bad. So recommend to you get into Grant Morrison. Okay, get into Flex Mentallo. Get into whatever. I mean, there's a comic out there for everybody. People give comic books a bad rap, saying, "Oh, you know, like only nerds read them." No, just read stuff. Like it's a book. I don't know why people give it such a hard time. It's a book with pictures, and it's cool as crap. But pretty much, like comic books, there's one out there for everyone. Like no matter what you're into, like maybe you think superheroes are just stupid, okay? Then you know that's fine and dandy. There's comic books about like everything out there. Oh, but I meant to talk about this. This is just a little Noah Gregory side story. Uh, Wally finds like a will to live through comic books. So if you're going through a hard time, just find something that makes you happy. You know, whether it be comic books or whatever, just find something. Like there's something out there. Don't just be happy. Like life's so great. The end. Bye.